Hello, welcome. So today we're going to be looking at some r/am I the butthole? So if you want to judge some big old buttholes with me today, then please do stick around and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. Am I the butthole for telling a lady at the park that I was going to get physical with her and have her arrested when she called the cops? My best friend is a woman I have known since middle school. We have been friends for 40 years, literally. She and her husband had a child very late in life, like she was 42. Kid is great, and I was the fourth person to ever hold him after his parents and grandmother. I've been in his life since hours after he was born. I am a very large child. I work in a fly-in and fly-out job, and I make a great living. My kids are grown up and on their own. My wife loves having the kid around and treats them like a grandkid. I like having him around and treat him like a sibling. We play Lego and Nintendo. I've had to relearn everything I forgot about Minecraft. I also am the go-to babysitter when I'm on my off weeks. It works out because I have nothing better to do when I'm at home. The problem is, I am a 6-foot, 300-pound Hispanic man that looks exactly like what you would expect an oil-field worker to look like. Marcus, not his real name, is an 8-year-old kid with long red hair and green eyes. He is so white that he looks like they raised an albino in a closet. Oh my god. Can't say that. I had him at a park by my house this weekend whilst his mum and dad had some downtime. He was having fun, and when it was time to go, he was a little jerk and wouldn't come. So I chased him down and threw him over my shoulder while he struggled and giggled. I could see where this is going. That's when the lady got in my face. She told me to put him down. I didn't want any problems, so I did. She said she had already called the cops and tried to take him away. She grabbed his arm, hard. He was calling out to me, so I told her to let him go or we would be having a physical confrontation. All of a sudden, she wasn't so anxious to be a hero. Marcus hid behind me and we waited for the cops. She had a phone out and was recording me. When the cops showed up, they separated the three of us to talk to. I had already called my wife. She was livid. She is a tiny Welsh woman that doesn't take crap from anyone. The cops had already figured everything out when my wife showed up. They were still trying to get a hold of Marcus's mum and dad. They are away for the weekend. Anyway, my wife pulls out her phone for the cops and shows them an album she has of me and Marcus for the last 9 years. Then she points to the bruise on Marcus's arm where the woman grabbed him. The cop said the lady was just trying to help. I asked them if I had given him the bruise and they showed up, if I would also get a pass. They ended up arresting the woman, handcuffs and everything. No clue what happened after that. Now I'm wondering if I could have handled it better. Am I the butthole for what happened? How could I have done better? Now, I'm not being funny, but it's not even like Marcus was like, oh my god, help, and sobbing, crying, and looking terrified. Marcus was like screaming and kicking and laughing, having fun with it, you know? So for her to come up and like be like, you're trying to kidnap that kid. I'm sorry, love, open your bloody eyes. Does that kid look in any way distressed? No, they're laughing, they're playing along, and they've been there playing together for this whole time. Like, I'm not being funny. Just because you don't look exactly like the kid that is with you doesn't automatically mean that you're up to nefarious things. Now, if Marcus was kicking, screaming, looking terrified and like, oh my god, this person's trying to take me, then yeah, fair enough. I could understand being worried. You know, anyone would be for a kid if the kid looks flaming petrified. But that's not what was happening here. And she could have just gone, look, can we just verify a few things? All it would have taken is for her to speak to the OP. The OP could have got their phone out and proved, or like called their wife to come and show her to prove that they know the kid, and that be that. It's ridiculous. And also, grabbing the kid hard enough to bruise them. She must have really yanked on that poor kid, which is, yeah, that's a big no. That is a no. So, down in the comments, No One A Special says, when I worked retail, we had a big rule. Never accuse. We could say, are you having fun with your daddy today? You're taking good care of grandpa? If the adult answered, didn't give the kids a chance, grab the kid hard, then we might become slightly alert. But if the kid answered, that's my uncle, or yes, or anything that indicated that they were with that person, we were done. Not the butthole, and show up for every hearing. Make sure that photos of the bruise are entered into evidence. Nosy old biddy deserves every bit of punishment she can get. And then Holdfast02 says, this is a pretty smart approach. Don't accuse, verify. It is, because there's lots of situations that could mean that someone would be with a kid that they look nothing like. You know, it could be that the kid's adopted by parents that are a different race to them or just don't look anything like them. It could be that it's a family friend's kid. It could be that, you know, you yourself have married someone who is a different race to yourself, so then that you have a mixed race child, and then that means that the child might not really look exactly like you. There are so many ways that you could end up with a child in your care that looks nothing like you. People need to learn to keep their friggin' noses out unless there is something actually alarming going on, you know?
Editing me on the headset here. Basically, I went on to say, because let's be honest, this is probably a racial thing, because obviously the kid is redheaded and the dude is Hispanic, but it got cut off the end for some reason, so enjoy this terrible audio.
Next post, am I the butthole for ditching my friend at the airport for doing a stupid prank? Have we not established from, having the internet at our fingertips that pulling pranks at an airport is probably a really stupid idea? I went overseas with 3 friends. We live in the US. One of them was having her partner picking her up when we got back home. I was the ride home for the other friend. We are about an hour away from the airport. He had the bright idea to joke when going through immigration that when the officer asked where we're coming from, he thought it'd be real funny to tell him North Korea. We went to Seoul, South Korea. Seoul? How do you say that? It's written Seoul, but I've never been to Korea, so I really wouldn't know. So we all get pulled back into secondary questioning because of this dumbass. They let me and my other friend out when we showed our passports, itinerary, credit card activity, showing that we had been in Seoul the entire time. I hope I'm saying that right. You're all going to laugh at me if not. Then they let us go. They kept the moron back for about 2 to 3 hours before letting him go. I just went straight home and refused to wait for him. It was late, so he had to get a hotel by the airport, then rent a car to get back home. He said I should have waited for him. I said, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You're lucky you didn't go to prison or have your passport revoked. Am I the butthole? No, not at all. So you're coming back, you're coming into the US. They've asked where you're coming from, and you say North Korea. Now, I imagine that then that might give them a bit of a questioning gaze because of the whole thing with spies or things like that. I don't know if it's all a thing. I don't know. I don't look into it enough. But I know there is something, isn't there, that would then make them go, let's just check this. When you're going through passport control or whatever. But, I've watched enough TV and enough, little shows where they do border control in Australia and they pick all the weird things out of the bags that people try and take into the country. I've watched enough of them to know you just don't mess around with them. Because if you say one thing that makes you look dodgy, you might get a cavity search. And unless you're feeling like having some big old burly bloke be knuckles deep up your backside, maybe, just maybe, don't mess around at border control. So then down in the comments, Stop Spinning Like That said, for me, the top 2 situations for not ever pulling a prank would be 1, at the airport, 2, when being held at gunpoint. I mean, yeah, that's fair enough. In that order, you are not the butthole. No, definitely not. Your mate is an idiot. And then String Random says, 1, at any border crossing or immigration check. Literally. FTFY? What's that an acronym for? Anyway, I don't know. Border and immigration people do not fuck around in any country. No, they do not. It is paramount safety to the country that they make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. Unless, of course, that you do convince them that you're doing something weird and they do want to give you a cavity search, in which case they're slipping through your crack. Some stranger on a Tuesday. Next post, am I the butthole for snapping and asking our server, would you like us to order less? So, for context, I am 34 weeks pregnant. After work today, I met up with a friend and my husband at Raw Bar for oysters and beer. I can't have either of those things right now, but was happy just to be out. You know, it really do be like that. When you're pregnant, it's just like, I don't care if I can't have any of these things. I just want to be out of the house and feeling less like a human incubator. Just want to pretend I'm normal, like a normal everyday person for a little bit. I walked in a few minutes after them, just as they were being greeted by the server. When I walked up, she looked at me and said, "I see you waddling up. You can't eat here." Excuse you? And excuse me, I see you waddling? Shots fired. Friggin' hell. I laughed it off. I assumed this was just an off-colour joke and told her I was happy just to hang out. After ordering drinks, my husband started talking with her about the oyster selection. I introduced my husband to oysters a few years ago. When I'm not pregnant, going out for oysters and beers is one of our things. I normally order the oysters as he doesn't know much about the different types and how the flavour changes by region. A door in my house has just banged. That just scared the flipping life out of me. I am home alone. Maybe I got a ghost finally. It's not a big deal, it's just something I know more about. He normally chooses our beers because that's something he knows more about. Oysters have never appealed to me just because there is a bacteria that you can get from, like, especially oysters and seafood, which is particularly nasty if you get it. So, like, eating raw seafood, especially oysters. You can even get it from getting a cut in the sea, by the way, and it is a particularly nasty bacteria with quite a high mortality rate in comparison to most others. Not interested at all. Also, I hear the texture is something that I do not want to experience either. No, not yucking anyone's yum, by the way. If you like it, you like it. But for me, the person who has such a germophobic personality, no thank you. I don't want those germs and I don't want that jizzy taste. So, after the server told us about the different choices, I started discussing with my husband and telling him which ones I thought he would like. Our friend ordered the other raw bar items but didn't want oysters. The server seemed annoyed by this and made a comment about how I was being bossy. Oh my goodness, just this server needs to learn to zip it and be polite and, like, keep out of it. Like, I understand maybe if you see a fully pregnant woman coming in and into a beer and oyster bar and raw fish, just go in, "I'm really sorry, but we don't actually have anything I think that you would be able to eat," or just to let you know that we have to advise that pregnant women do not eat this because of the risk, so I wouldn't be able to serve it to you. Understand that, because obviously it could leave the restaurant liable if this woman went and ate it and then got ill and sued, or the baby got ill and they sued. I understand that. But the way this woman has a hell of an attitude and is basically just picking on this poor pregnant lady who has done nothing wrong, it's weird. I ignored her, ordered the oysters for my husband, and made no other comments on anything else that was ordered for the table. After our first round of food, my husband wanted more oysters, so he called the server back over. He asked me to tell her which oysters he liked so he could get more. This is where things went south. At his request, I ordered for him. The server, looking very annoyed, said that I was pushing him around. "Are you Dr. Phil? Keep your friggin' nose out. Why do you need to give these random patrons relationship advice?" And then said, "I hope you come back when you're not pregnant so I can get to know the real you." Oh my goodness. I snapped. I asked pointedly, "Would you like us to order less?" She got quiet, walked away, and a new server helped us for the rest of our night. Now, I do think she was out of line, but pregnancy hormones are real, and I worried I should have just seen this as harmless clowning and not snapped at her. Our friend says I was in the right. My husband said it wasn't worth engaging in, so Reddit. Am I the butthole? Absolutely not. Oh my goodness. You could have said so much more and you would have been absolutely within your right to. She was being so bloody rude. There was absolutely no need for that. Again, like I say, considering what they serve there, I would understand her initially saying, oh, just to let you know, we would not be able to serve you the raw fish or whatever, or we advise against you eating it, because I don't know if they can refuse. I suppose they could refuse to serve anyone they want to. But just to say, like, sorry, we would not be able to, or we advise against you eating the raw fish, and obviously alcohol too, because of being pregnant, absolutely fine. And then that's all you say. But the fact that she was basically fully picking on the OP and being rude from the minute they walked in, this woman has some sort of stick up her butt. And yeah, no, that is not how you treat customers at all. That was rude. And honestly, it just sounded like she was getting a bit of a kick out of trying to bully this poor woman. Maybe, OP, she liked the look of your husband. Maybe. Because that was so uncalled for and so very rude. There is much more you could have done, OP. I mean, even going to the manager, no one likes to look like a Karen, but now and then a call for the manager is absolutely justified. So then down in the comments, Dancing in the Lowlight says, not the butthole. What she said was impolite and unprofessional. She should have just done her job instead of making unwanted comments. Next post, am I the butthole for telling my son I know he is gay? I, 62M, have 2 kids. One, 24M, and another, 26F. My wife unfortunately passed away 10 years ago and brought most of the warmth and heart to the family. I've worked on myself and tried to be a more nurturing presence for my kids since she passed, but it isn't something that comes naturally to me, as I had a very traditional and pretty severe upbringing. I think that's so sweet though that the OP actually recognises that and has put a concerted effort into being more of an open, nurturing person, because if you aren't brought up that way and you aren't taught how to do that, it's not something that comes naturally. It takes a lot of work to get there. And I think that's really sweet that they have actually noticed that and put the effort in. Just going to point that out, because a lot of these stories we read, like, people are just like, they don't bother. They won't take on that they are at fault, or that there's, their way of being isn't the ideal. They won't admit it and they double down. So I like to read that. That's nice. This brings me to my current situation. I recently found out through a friend at my church that my son is romantically involved with another man. At first I was just surprised, but after I digested the news, I was concerned that he clearly didn't feel able to share this important part of his life with me. We live in a more conservative part of the US, and I'm an active churchgoer, and we had never really discussed sexuality as a family. As such, I was concerned that he thought I would disown him or something, when in reality, I just love him and want him to find the happiness I had with his mother, whatever form that takes. Aw, I love that. In the end, I decided it'd be best to address it directly with him so he knew I loved and supported him and he didn't have to worry about telling me. I invited him over for a beer, told him what I knew, and expressed as best I could that it wasn't something he needed to hide from me. He's very much like me and not too great at emoting, but after his initial shock, he hugged me and told me that he appreciated it. I felt like the conversation went well and I was closer to him. When my daughter found out what happened, however, she told me I'd made a big mistake. She said I ambushed him and, worse still, robbed him of the opportunity to come out in his own time, which she told me is often important to gay people. I really didn't get the impression my son felt that way about our conversation, and she didn't hear from him that he feels that way, but she says it's obvious that he'd be upset. Not necessarily. I understand what your daughter's saying, and some people would feel like that, but also some people wouldn't. Some people might appreciate having that weight of that taken off their shoulders and the worry of telling someone and having them come to them instead and say, hey, by the way, I already know, and I don't mind. I support you. Some people would absolutely love that. So I think the daughter's just basically kind of projecting a little here onto what she would want to do. So now I'm wondering if I've been a butthole telling him I knew. And if so, what I should do next. I've been thinking of checking in with him, but I don't want to inadvertently say something wrong and damage my relationship with him more than I already have done. I cannot lose another person I love and don't want to hurt my son, who went through so much already with his mum passing. Honestly, I really don't think the OP has anything to worry about. They know their kid. They know their kid is not very good at doing the emotional conversations. So they, put their hat in the ring and did it for them. And obviously they know that their kid would respond well to that, or I'm sure they would not have done it. If they thought that their son was going to be upset by that, or mentally damaged by that, I absolutely believe that this OP would not have done it. So they knew their son. They knew that they probably weren't going to be able to tell them themselves. So they kind of went, you know what? I will take that responsibility off your hands. Let me do it for you. And not in a I'm taking over kind of way either. In a way of let me take that stress from you. So I think the daughter's projecting because maybe the daughter would like to have the chance to tell her big news by herself if she had big news. Replies from all are welcome, but especially gay folks who might know what my son is going through. God bless. So Rough Chip 6667 says, I don't think you have anything to worry about, but if it puts your mind at ease, you could text him something along the lines of, I'm sorry if our conversation put you on the spot or made you feel uncomfortable, but I love you and I just wanted you to know that. I'm so proud of the man you have become and I know your mother would be too. Then leave the ball in his court. And then Mela99 says, this is great. I would also remind your daughter that it's not her place to decide what your son should or shouldn't get. If he's okay, she needs to back off, not the butthole. Exactly. And I feel like the son was quite happy with the way it came about, Yeah, because the OP says here, but after his initial shock, he hugged me and told me that he appreciated it. And I felt the conversation went well and I was closer to him. If the son had not been very happy, I'm sure the OP would have noticed and felt that at least. They would have felt like something was wrong. So yeah, I really don't think the OP has anything to worry about personally. Okay, so I think that's all we've got time for today. If you made it all the way to the end with me, then I appreciate you very, very much. If you give a little like, subscribe, turn your notifications on, that is your initiation into the coveted void. Welcome. Whatever it is you're doing for the day, I hope you have a really good rest of the day. Goodbye. Oh, and just to get maybe some input on this, see what you guys think, because obviously you're the one who listened to the videos. I don't really actually listen back to them. The most I listen to is as I'm going through it and editing it. I don't listen to it as a whole because the sound of my own voice makes me want to cringe out of my own butthole. But I was thinking of maybe chopping up the videos as someone has suggested before and making them into Instagram reels, TikTok reels, and shorts. Do you guys think that would work well? Because I don't know, because I don't watch a lot of, and this is going to sound weird, I don't watch a lot of content that is like my own. I used to years ago, which is why I'd always thought, I'd like to do that too. But I don't now because I don't want to form biases on stories, if that makes sense. Because obviously, when you're all going from the same subreddits and the same top stories, you're all going to be reading the same stories. So I don't listen and I don't like to look at how other people are doing their stuff because I don't want to accidentally do the same as someone else subconsciously. Do you know what I mean? So I don't really know if chopping up the videos, doing maybe taking one story at a time and making them into reels, because they'd have to be put into part 1 and part 2 and things like that, because I've looked into how long reels are and YouTube shorts and it's 3 minutes. Obviously I waffle for a lot more than that. So I don't know if that would work. Is that something that you guys would engage with or have engaged with before? Obviously, if you watch the long videos, you're not going to watch those. But as a consumer, are they something you would watch from other people on the other sites is what I'm asking, basically. So yeah, let me know what you think on that one. I would be interested to know because it is something I have been considering doing. I feel like I need to kind of put my name out there more because I've been thinking lately, I know I always say this is just a hobby for me, but it would be kind of fun if I could make it into an actual job and I could just do it full time. That would actually be kind of fun, I don't know. Maybe that's just wishful thinking and, fantastical thinking, but let me know what you think anyway.